On this trip, we're north of Walhalla. Tim's going to show us some of the awesome tracks just north of the Baw Baw National Park. We're starting off on one called the Trig Track.
We're in for a fairly interesting sort of day. We're pretty much going to start off straight away with a good downhill section on Trig Track, and we'll get down there as far as the gate and across the Aberfeldy River. That could be interesting at the moment with all the rain we've had around here, so we'll see how that is. And yeah, we've got a couple of good rock sections to climb today, and a few more steep sections and cross Fulton's Creek, so yeah, it could be an interesting day.
Every time I drive through the Victorian high country, I feel like I'm back in touch with what it really means to be an Australian. It's impossible to escape Australia here. We're in the bush, and this is a place where gold prospectors have come, the cattlemen, the bush rangers. Boy, these people really knew how to live off the land, and I reckon they had it really hard. We had a taste of the harsh conditions too. One of the nights we camped out was the coldest winter night recorded this year. I just about talked Jack into jumping into the swag with me, until my nose told me not to. But anyway, I've got to say, I've only got respect for the blokes who came here before us.
Okay guys, we're well into Trig Track now, heading down. We've already covered a couple of downhill sections, and I think everything's going all right at the moment. Steve, how's that camper going back there, mate?
Yeah, no problem whatsoever, mate. It's going well, going very well.
Holy dolly, look at the track on the other side.
Yeah, unfortunately we can't get over there because it's seasonally closed, this track at the moment, but yeah, it's a fun bit section that over the other side there.
Eventually we got down to our first crossing on the Aberfeldy River. The Aberfeldy River is about 50 kilometres long, and it winds its way all the way through the valleys. It can be a really tough crossing sometimes, but even with all the rain lately, this wasn't too bad. Well, you know, not too bad for a couple of submarines or something anyway. Straight after the Aberfeldy, we're onto the first climb on the Trig Track, and right from the start, guess what happens? Oh, he's jackknifed. What a rotten position to be in. Gee, it's slippery, isn't it?
Damn slippery, mate. I think we'll be winching this thing all the way up this section.
Well, this is traction central on this slope. Steep as, wet, and lots of loose scree. And that's where Steve's come unstuck. Milo got up there 15 psi rear locker without too many dramas, but of course I'm not towing a trailer. So without any traction control and no lockers, our next alternative's to drop them down to about 12 psi. And when that doesn't work, because it's probably not going to, then we'll start winching. And by the look of this, we've got a lot of winching to do too. It's just so slippery on this hill. There's hardly any traction whatsoever, and Steve's got no traction control or lockers. Trailer's looking a bit nasty here, mate. You reckon we can physically move this, the three of us? We're just going to bounce the trailer on you, Steve.
All right, mate.
Sometimes there's no other option than to get in there and manhandle the thing. We just about tipped it over there too. Not so good. What we've decided to do is bring the Roo Systems 200 up and hook in with some recovery gear. Okay, Steve, can you hear me?
Yeah, mate.
Mate, where you are, there's no traction at all. So we're going to unhook you and then get you just to bring the trailer back about 10 or 15 feet and straighten the whole rig up when you do, so we got weight reasonably equally distributed on all four wheels. We might have a chance of forward progress.
All right, not a problem. I hope.
Now Steve's got to straighten the whole plot up and then give it the berries. It's the only chance he's got. And when it comes to giving it the berries, Steve's not frightened at all. That'll do, mate. Try from there. Steve's just game to give anything a go, and here he's realised that he's got one chance. He gives it the berries, he's going to get that trailer up the hill. Uh-oh. Looks like that's as far as he's going to go, though.
Wow.
Gleno, we're thinking that maybe we put the 200 in front and then join you guys together, because we've got a lot of this stuff.
I'm going to count backwards from 3. You ready to go, mate?
Yeah, I'm ready now.
3, 2, 1.
Blast off.
Oh, he's loving it too. Good on you, Steve.
Get in the bearings, guys, that's good.
We're going to keep going here, mate.
It's not too long before Steve's hauling it up the hill.
Go, Gleno, go, Gleno!
Congratulations, guys, that was awesome. Tell you what, Gleno, shows the power of the rev system.
Mate, it felt good, and mate, actually I was sitting on about 2,500 RPM, and mate, that traction with those tyres, unbelievable. So mate, it's just making light work of the engine, mate, and not having to get into it.
Awesome, thank you, Glen, thank you.
Oh, that was fantastic, guys. And now that we're off the trick track, Tim's decided to take a bit of a detour and show us some more of the heritage of this area. I love these little side trips. You never know what you're going to find out.
Okay, heading down to toward Junction Hut here, guys, and very nice crossing here of the Aberfeldy River we're going to do, and also where Donnelly's Creek comes in, aptly named it being Junction Hut. Yeah, it's a very nice little setup down here, so very nice, very picturesque.
Junction Hut is thought to have been built as a miner's hut in the 1940s. The hut's been left as a shelter for travellers. Unfortunately, some people have got little respect for this sort of heritage. In 2008, someone dropped a tree on the hut, destroying the veranda and the wool shed. And since then, the local four-wheel drive club and the Vic High Country Huts Association have worked together and worked really hard to fix it up as best as possible. Oh boy, such a beautiful place. It was hard to move on. And I tell you what, the scenery was magnificent. Can't wait to see what Tim's got in mind for a campsite. But you never know what to expect in the high country. You always have to be prepared. Just around the corner, you never know what's going to happen. It's funny, I was talking to one of the guys, one of the local blokes up here, and he came through. He does a lot of the bulldozer work here, you know, cleaning up the tracks and stuff. They had a major clean-up after the bushfire, rearranged a lot of stuff, and then of course they had a major clean-up after the floods that happened shortly after that. And he was saying there's still a lot of people come up here with no snatch straps, in cars on their own with road tyres. They don't know what they're doing. They think they've got a four-wheel drive, so they think they can access the high country. Well, you know, yes, you can, some parts of it. But a little bit of common sense goes an awful long way, doesn't it? After a long day, we finally arrived at our camp spot next to the Aberfeldy River. It was time to set up our hike. Oh boy, well, it's been raining all night. It's bucketed down. There's a metre of snow, just a little bit higher than us. And the creek, well, it's flowing ice blocks. It's horrible here. But you know, the best part of that is Tim saved some of the worst tracks for today. And now they're going to be absolutely muddy. So we've made a little bit of an executive decision and decided to leave the camper behind. That should make things a little bit easier, but not much. Righto, I'm going to round up the troops because we're in for a big day of slipping and sliding. Come on guys, I reckon we should get ready, eh?
So boys, did everyone have a good sleep?
I'll tell you what, that kitchen came in handy too. I feel pretty well fed this morning.
What's the rain likely to have done to this track today, Tim?
The rocky section could be a bit interesting. It's going to be quite challenging, I think, on that section of Fulton's Creek, but yeah, we'll just see how we go.
When you say rocky section, mate, what are we talking about? Lots of big rocks, or rocks up a hill, or what?
Yeah, lots of big rocks. There's a step, sort of a bit of a step section we've got to get up in one part of it, so that'll be a bit of a challenge today.
He's so underspoken, this guy, isn't he? You know, bit of a challenge.
Yeah, like to leave a little bit for the imagination, mate.
Well, we're right here at the turn off to Fulton's Creek. That's where we're going today, the Fulton's Creek track. Should be pretty exciting, I reckon. It's wet. It's probably going to be snowy up there. There's a lot of rocks. And before we even get off the road, we're going to be down to 14 PSI. Come on guys, let's go and give it a shake, eh? It looks like a straight drop-off too, the entrance to Fulton's track. You basically just hang on to them and go over the edge. Doesn't look nearly as steep on the DVD, but trust me, it's just about straight down. There's a couple of alternative ways to go too. We had a choice of tracks right from the start. Tim's taken the left-hand line, which looks a whole lot better, and he did a really good job of it. I've taken the right-hand one, which is a bit more ups and downy, but it's in a straight line, which means I don't have to do the sideways thing. And I've got the rear locker on. I'm in first low range. And I'm hanging onto the brake pedal a fair bit too. That's the high country for you. Straight into it as soon as you want. And then the four-wheel driving is just spectacular. And here, with all the rain and this clayey track, the big problem is just sliding.
That was a hell of a descent. I dead set felt like getting out and kissing the ground.
I like the way you say that. This next challenging section. Holy dooly!
Yeah, mate, what are you doing? I'm getting a crook neck looking up there.
What we have to watch out for here, mate, is not being too close together, because kick one of those big ghoulies, she'll just do the big bounce. And
I think it's one up at a time, actually.
pretty much.
What's over the top?
Keeps them flat.
Tim's idea of a steep track is just about vertical, obviously, because this one's an absolute doozy. Loose rocks, steps, man, it's got some horrible stuff happening. It's so steep, no one can be bothered walking it.
It looks worse than what it is from here, but
It looks to me like there's a
there's a
few
bit of a
options
rock
in the
ledge,
middle
yeah.
bit.
I'm going to probably go right line all the way up, I think, and stay on that hard rocky stuff, and we'll give it a crack and see how we go.
Good on you.
Tim's first up, he chose the track, it's only fair, and the Patrol has been a really competent vehicle too. Now it's got that rear locker, he's really got it sorted, I reckon, for a high country truck. Look at that, just kind of waltzed up there. Something to be said for coil suspension all round in these circumstances, isn't there? Now we've got a really steep lack of traction hill here, lots of rocks. My big technique is to set my hand throttle, that's done. So I've got just a nice steady amount of revs. I've got the back locker on, right from the start. I don't think I need the front locker, we'll see how we go. Wow, this is one steep hill. Holy dooly. Start worrying that you might just tumble over backwards, you know. Take the rock there. Just in the wrong place to take a dip out. Just see if I can kick it with the tyre. Oh yes. And as always, it feels great to get to the top.
Okay, gentlemen, here I come.
Now, Honest Don's been giving this Prado some grief from one end of the country to the other.
Here we go. Rocking and rolling going on. Very rocky. Whoa.
And the Hilux without the trailer, Steve's really showing what he's got.
I'm about to give it all I've got. I'm about to hit the hard bits.
Of course we are, mate. That's why we're here.
These guys are truly insane, dead set.
Now, Hasbeen reckons he's got it easy this time. He's got traction control, he's got good tyres, he's got that beautiful big V8 pumping out buckets more power. You know what? He did it easy. It sounded like a speedboat on the way up too. You know, for years we used fire cars for camera cars, which meant because they didn't have the tyres and the suspension and everything else, 9 times out of 10 we had to leave them halfway down the track. Well, that's not the case now. Now we've got a couple of camera cars and they're both quite well equipped, so they can stay with us for the most part. The problem here is that the Troopy's got all the camera gear in the back. It's all slidden down, there's no weight on the front tyres, it's hopping all over the place.
Oh, 2 up!
The 79 has just gone cruncher.
Honestly, I didn't do anything at all. It kind of took on a life of its own, like it reared up like this, you know, the phantom dingo syndrome. Anyhow, it made this hell of a crack, and with a bit of luck, we might fix it.
Hasbeen and I have had a good old look at it. It's just pretty much got to be the diff. We think that's what's wrong. It's not surprising, because this truck, even though it looks really good,
is a 200,000k ex-police truck. We have to get it out of here. We've got no choice. Could be a lot of winching, could be a lot of crunching. One way or the other, we're getting it out of here. Too good to leave it behind. It's a Toyota.
We don't really know what's further up ahead, so Tim's going to shoot on up there and have a bit of a look. Off you go, Tim. It wasn't that easy, was it? And then we'll try and bring the camera car up. I'm not really looking forward to that, but I figure that if the patrol can get there, the troopy's got to have a go.
Oh boy, it's definitely diff, you can hear it. It's every rotation now. It's going clunk, clunk, clunk. Suggests to me that there's a couple of teeth missing.
Now the front diff's absolutely shot in the troopy. It's only a question of time before it snaps.
Did you hear that last noise?
Did you say he's past you or not?
That's the noise of the diff going, guys. I think we're now officially in two-wheel drive. I'm just going to see if I've still got any front-wheel drive, and I'm going to point it towards that tree over the other side there. Do you want to call the boys up? We need some winching off that tree. We're going to have to winch it out of here. I'm starting to think it might even be this freewheeling hub. I really hope it is, because I think I've still got a spare one in my toolkit. Anyway, we're going to have to winch up the hill to sort it out. It won't be seized. It's either no teeth left on the diff, or it's no teeth left on the freewheeler.
Mate, have you got one in your bag? Let's change it here.
Now there's just a chance that that big noise we heard and the lack of traction is caused by a busted freewheeling hub. It's happened to me once before in the high country. The only way we're going to find out though is to have a look. We can't start pulling it apart until we've secured the vehicle because it's on such a steep hill. This is kind of the recovery you have when you're not going anywhere.
We're going to try and fix this where it is, because that's our best chance. I don't like the look of doing it here, but I still think it's a better chance than trying to get a three-wheel drive to the top of this hill. Well, that's what we got.
It's great to have Gleno on the trip. I mean, he's a really good mechanic as much as anything else. I'll just stand back, mate. You just sort it out for me, will you?
Because it really did feel like the diff, because even when I set off, it was going, you know, like ka-junk, ka-junk, ka-junk. See, that's all good. I diagnosed this on the basis of, oh look, unlock the hub and the noise goes away. But what Glen just said makes a lot of sense, which is unlock the hub, you take the strain off the diff, and therefore there's no more noise. The only way we're going to find out is to pull the plug on the diff and look for metal. Hey, that's about it, isn't it?
That's about it, mate.
Okay, situation report. We've got low range two-wheel drive, and we've got, what do you reckon, Tim? 300, 400 yards?
Still to go easily yet.
We're not sure of the heritage of this winch. It's a good old high mount Warn, but it's probably 200,000 k's old. To avoid it burning out in a big hurry and making life real hard, we're going to put a Snatch block up there, use the full winch extension strap. We're going to double this up, okay mate?
Yep.
And that way we'll halve the amount of work the winch has to do, because we're going to have to do it probably 3 times to get over this tricky section. And the way the rain keeps coming, a few more times to get to the top.
Righto.
This is possibly the worst conditions to winch anything anywhere, especially a dead vehicle up a really steep slope. Absolute safety first, all the way through. No one go near anything until we've called clear, okay? Thanks team, we can do this, we can do it, but we all want to be alive to have a drink about it tonight.
Plenty of rope left on it yet.
And to get the troopy up this tough section, and to do it safely, we're going to double up so that we've got twice the torque out of that winch. And then we're going to use one of TJM's long winch extension straps to the next very strong tree. This is our only chance, really.
I don't like the sound of this winch already.
The winch isn't in the best shape, but it's working. Because it's doubled up, it might stay working for a little bit longer. Steve's in there packing rocks so that we don't lose any of the hard fought-for progress we've made. And all the guys are working hard. It's raining, it's slippery. Just going up and down the track makes you feel like a billy goat. It really does. It's not an easy place. It could be worse. It could be dark. And it will be if we don't get going. I'll tell you what, there's nothing like having winch rope instead of cable in these situations. It just makes life so much easier when you're really battling. Now pretty soon, I'm starting to find a bit of traction, even in two-wheel drive. And I'm thinking I might be able to drive this. Just give me a chance, guys. And guess what? They did. They cleared out of the road. And I just thought, well, that's it. I got one go at this. I'm going to bury it and see what happens. So I did. I buried it. It was all over the track too. Hopped around like you wouldn't believe.
Damn top effort, I reckon.
Man deserves a medal.
Mate, that was hard work.
Everybody had a job. Everybody knew exactly what was going on. We all had handheld UHFs. Very clear communication was the key.
Well, I'm just going to go as far as I can, and I'm just going to keep on going. Well, hopefully. We'll see what happens.
Now, the only thing I've got in my favour here is momentum. We've already let the tyres down. We're in two-wheel drive, second gear. I got my foot buried to the floor, and it's all up to the steering. Oh, and a little bit of a help from Jack too, of course. I mean, you know, you don't want to be a troopy and stop with a dog bite in your back tyre, do you? We did it. In two-wheel drive. Well, I can't tell you how excited I am. You know what I mean? Like, I'm glad there's no one around, because I'm just whoa at the moment. That was insane. If we ever get the chance, we're going to sneak that troopy out of Sydney, bring it up to Brisbane and paint it green, because it's got balls. It's a beauty. That's the most fun I've had in ages. Now it's Milo's turn, but it's going to be an absolute doddle after that two-wheel drive trip in the troopy. So I just do the old set the throttle and let the clutch out and let the old girl work her way up to the top of the hill. Oh boy, beautiful.
I'm at the bottom of this hill, and it's a perler.
Ah, good old honest Don. The guy's a born adventurer. And you know what? He loves a challenge. He gets just as excited as everybody else when it comes off. Especially at night time when it's time for a drink. Hey, Don.
Good work, Donnie. Good work.
Just about put everybody under the table, he did.
Very thrilling. It's quite a testing little drive there for me and my brother.
Next up is Steve in the Hilux. Steve's got the benefit of lots of power, a little bit of clearance, and it's working for him too. And by this stage, we've taken to putting Gleno up the back because we know he's going to get through. With decent tyres and a whole lot of mumbo under the bonnet, Glen can launch that 200 just about anywhere. And we had to pull the troopy out again. All that happened was it lost a little bit of traction right on the last stage there, but it could have rolled backwards over the cliff so easily. And it's so slippery up here. You're just about sliding sideways as you try and make your way up the hill.
Well, that was a big day of adventure. You've just witnessed the Snatch from hell. Fred's truck had nowhere to go other than over the edge. He couldn't even get out of it. He couldn't do anything. And just the length of the Snatch strap meant that Tim was right on a ridge, so sort of almost a no traction place to be. So that took a really coordinated effort and two brilliant bits of driving. First of all, Tim gave it all the confidence in the world on that Snatch. No mucking around. And second, Fred dialed up the hand throttle, full whoppo, so that he could just use two pedals, and he didn't release the brake until the moment of impact, kinetic energy, on that Snatch. The result, we're back on the track, we're airing up, we're going to go home, diagnose the 79, come back and play again tomorrow. The other result could have been bingle, bingle, bingle over the hill, at least a 20-metre roll. Congratulations to all the guys involved, and boy, a hot rum toddy tonight, or 7 I reckon. I'll go and put my tyres up. Well, we've been doing some pretty tough tracks this week, and the big joke all week has been, you know, we're looking at the slope and going, wow, that's going to be hard. And then all of a sudden, Tim will come along and say, harden up cement. Now, that's what we need, a spoonful of harden up cement before we do the tough slopes. Okay, I've got a heap of bacon here because we're feeding a heap of people. Olive oil, first thing in the pot. Nice big swags of olive oil. There we go. I always find that when you cook bacon, if you cook it in a little bit of oil, especially olive oil, it really brings out the flavour full on. And if you're wondering what Fred's up to, well, that's because a stew requires a whole lot of veggies all chopped up. And this is a great time to get your kids working on a camping trip, you know? Get them to slice up the spuds and the carrots and the broccoli. We'll get this bacon going.
Hey John, you copy channel 16. These veggies are just about ready, mate.
I know why Fred wants to bring the veggies out here. That's because the beer's out here. Oh, good on you, mate. Look at that.
Yeah, you try that.
Oh, excellent. No worries.
More to come.
Okay, so we have potatoes, green things. They're actually called Brussels sprouts, but don't tell your kids that. They'll never know. They go in the stew. They're really healthy. Cut everything roughly about inch cube size. Now, yay by yay. See that? So we've got onions, carrots, spuds, and green things. That was it, wasn't it?
I think that's about right.
Oh no, there's something missing.
What about that? Those things all cut in small slices?
Mushrooms.
Mushrooms. There's a missing ingredient.
Oh, good on you, mate. Awesome.
How's that? Looks good. I tell you what, but you don't mind if I go and sit by the fire.
Help yourself.
Listen, I'm trying to get warm for both of us.
Oh, good on you. I'm pretty happy with the bacon, so it's time to add some meat. I've done my usual thing. I've been really slack, and I've got the beef already chopped up. There we go. So we've got bacon and beef all cooking in olive oil. Well, sooner or later, even in Victoria, the beef will go a nice sort of a brown tinge on it, which means it's started to cook. After that, in go the onions, beautifully chopped up by Fred. There's a couple of onions in there. Give that a stir. And then the mushrooms. Kabunka. And already our pot's half full. The huck stew's starting to look good. It's time to chuck in the rest of the veggies. We'll start with the spuds. Wodonga. No need to peel the potatoes as long as they've been washed. Then we'll bung in some carrots. Give all that a bit of a stir. Starting to get hard, but we're feeding a big bunch of guys here, so we need a big bunch of stew. Okay, there we go. Now it's time to add even more flavour. Because I'm from Queensland, I like pumpkin. When Gleno and I went and did the shopping for this cooking section, we just went straight for the pumpkin shelf, you know. It's something you do when you come from Queensland. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Cooking is just like mixing cement, especially when it's huck stew. There's something missing here, a little bit of liquid. I was going to use water, but it's all frozen. There's only one thing left. This stuff. I think it's beer, I'm not sure. We'll try some of that. There we go. Jono, I think it's time you started using your recovery gloves. You can always tell who's been doing all the work on a trip like this because someone else will have a clean pair of gloves. That's me. Righto. Now before this stew goes and sits in the fire, there's a couple of other things we have to add. One of these is horseradish. And you're thinking, horseradish and pumpkin, he must be mad. You're right. Let's give it a go. See what happens. There we go. The horseradish gives it a bit of warmth. And down here, that's something you can't get enough of. See these cutting mats on the table? You know what they are, don't you? Well, I've cleaned them up. I mean, I'm not, you know, that disgusting, but they've been sitting up the front of Milo's radiator for the last 3 days. just to cut down the airflow so that I can keep the poor old girl at least a little bit off the cold side of the gauge. You know what I'm saying? Boy, it's chilly down here. So now we've got a big boil up. There's one more thing has to go in. Good old Aussie honey. Here we go. Oh boy. This really is huck stew. Full on. Harden up cement. Oh! Okay. Well, that's a good old hit of the honey. Now just give it a few more stirs and it'll be ready to pop the lid on and go in the fire. There we go. On goes the lid. And I think I'm going to take it over and chuck it into the fire with the lid on. Oh, Jacko! Watch out, mate, dinner's coming through.
Is that our dinner, John?
That's our dinner, Gleno.
Oh, gee, that's looking good, isn't it?
I hope it's enjoyable. Boy, it's different. We really went out on a limb with that one, Gleno.
And I'm hungry.
Righto, let's see how the stew went, eh? 3 beers later, and it's looking good. I reckon Steve should try it out. Do you reckon? Because, yeah. Oh, mate. I'll tell you what, we've really appreciated the shelter this week. And as a token of my appreciation for not having to unroll my swag out there in the snow, I'd like to present this to you, Steve.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see what he thinks of it, eh?
It smells sensational.
I think I'll just start running now.
That's delicious.
Is it?
That's divine.
There you go. Huck stew, it's a winner. Okay, guys, who wants to go next? There we go, mate.
No, not yet.
Before our four-wheel driving got too tough for the day, Tim wanted to show us a little bit of the history of the area again.
Wow. This is the site of the old Toomban mine. You can see all the mullikeets up there, what's left of it, what's come out of the ground. This is what they were after, quartz.
Now this is really good evidence of the gold rush that was here in the late 1800s. And when you walk around in the bush you can see a few remnants too, you know, a bit of an old boiler and a couple of engine mountings, but it really is amazing how much the bush has reclaimed this.
It takes years and years of experience in the bush to be able to look at something like this and go, yep, it's a fireplace. Well, can't tell you any more than that. Other than it's still here 110 years later, maybe more. They knew what they were doing, didn't they? Good job.
Last night we sat down, we had a good old look at the troopy. By crikey, there was some fair dinkum damage underneath it, there really was. And we didn't want to miss out on the best part of the Fultons Creek track, so we've decided to leave the troopy at camp and share around the camera gear and give the second half of the track a go. I'm really looking forward to it, and so are the other guys too. I mean, Tim really talked the track up and we're hanging out for some adventure. I don't know why, we sort of get it every day around here. Guess that's what you start to live and breathe after a while, isn't it? And with Tim being just a little bit excited about the drive, everybody else is going, oh wow, this is going to be really tough. I can't wait.
This is the tricky bit, Tim. Oh, is this just the kick-off point? Pretty much goes straight up, doesn't it? Looks like there's lots of traction, it's just steep. Look at the tyre marks on the rocks and bits of shredded rubber. Even the trees, they got that I've been winched around look. Car has been launched at 200, mate. One, just all you have to do is touch about here, there, and at the top, and you're done.
Sprout the wings.
Sprout the wings.
Oh, if only they knew what they were in for.
Well, it's Tim's track, so he's going first again, and the G is well up to the job now. It's got that rear locker. Mind you, this is his country, and he's good on the wheel. He knows what to look for. And finally, there's a beep on the horn. I know Tim's made it, and it's my go. You know what Milo's technique is, you know what my technique is. I stick the hand throttle on, about a third revs, put the back locker in, and hang on. Milo's 13BT just pulls its way all the way to the top of the hill though, which means that it's Donny's turn. And he's really glad the Prado's got that extra oomph from the Roost Systems gear, I can tell you. Whoa, he's using it too. Look at that, front wheel in the air. It's all right, that's what spotters are for. Tim's as fit as a mountain goat and he needs to be here.
Back up, give me Don, we'll get you a bit of flat ground when you get another go at it.
Cool.
Straight back, straight back. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going.
Righto, Don, give it everything you got, mate. You got a fresh start. Sometimes that's all you need.
Yeah, good work, Don. Good work, keep going. Keep going, keep going, good work. Good stuff, mate.
Now, the only real surprise is that Don isn't listening to the Beatles or something, because he normally does, especially in stressful times like this. Look at the Prado jump.
Correct, Don. Top stuff, mate.
Hey, bit much like hard work, that one.
Good luck.
Thank you.
You won't need it, but I'm giving it to you anyhow.
Now, with Fred's troopy off the road, he's riding in with Steve.
Get in that rut, in the rut there, mate. Just pretty much left all the way up.
That's it, well done.
Oh, Steve's loving this. You betcha. It's the only thing he's found that shakes up his wild turkey, other than him. Whoa! Hey, how bumpy's that? Now, there's a great big rock right behind you there. Tim's called it. He knows where it is.
My boot pop open.
Yeah, mate. Nearly lost your back tyre.
We got a heap of camera gear in the back of that truck too. Now, Milo, it's a very capable truck, got to about there before I needed the front locker to get up here. And Steve ain't got no traction control at all. This is going to be insane. I think we're going to have to winch him though, at the very least. Now, Steve's only chance is to pick the best line possible for traction and give it the berries. Unfortunately, there's a bit of a rock in the road there. So despite letting the tyres down and everything else, it looks like we're going to have to do a bit of a recovery on the Hilux. Now, come on, Glen. It's like half an hour to do 10 feet, mate.
Oh, it should be there in an hour and a half, mate.
I'll tell you what, those bacon and eggs slow you down in the morning, don't they? Now, you know, we could try and dislodge that, but there's one problem with that. With this slope, but if you're doing 300 miles an hour, it'd cut the 200 series in half. So now we've got to be really careful. Our whole plan here consists of using a couple of winch extension straps so that we can pick up a tree that's in a direct straight line with the Hilux and that's strong enough to take the strain. And there's going to be a lot of strain here because there's the whole weight of the Hilux hanging off those winch straps. Now, to make sure that we don't burn out the winch, and because I really want progress to be nice and slow, we're going to double back the winch cable too. And that way we'll have nice, secure torque and it'll be constant.
Start driving, give it a bit of a hammer. Slow, slow, slow. Let it take up, let it take up, let it take up.
Hold it there if you want.
He's got to get over this next ledge. I think we've got just enough winch to get over that next ledge, and then he might have a crack at driving it.
Okay, drive it slow, slow.
At this stage, Steve's putting on just a little bit of wheel turning power because we need him to climb up and over anything.
What's the score? Do you reckon he can drive it?
Yeah, I might be able to drive it from here, I reckon.
Well, Steve, if anyone can, mate, it's going to be you. I'll just come back and screw the accelerator to the floor for you. You don't use it anyway, do you? You just floor it.
He's doing it. Go, Steve-o.
Look at that. The man and his truck, they're as tough as his camper.
Oh, who needs traction? Look at that. Yes! Go, 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 go! And that, folks, is how you don't treat a Hilux. Good effort.
And last but not least, we've got the big 200 series. By crikey, Gleno is really putting this thing through its paces on this trip.
He just did it too easy, really, didn't he? Look at that, eh?
Very capable.
There we go, guys. How's that for a day, eh? I think that's pretty much our day finished for this part of Fulton's Creek. But yeah, good bit of fun, plenty of action. Hope you had all a good time on it, eh? Oh, come on, Gleno. Can't be that bad, mate.
No, I'm enjoying it, mate, but I don't know how to take you yet.
Oh, I like that. This is what we do for fun down here in Victoria. Plenty of action like this. Good to see these Queenslanders a bit worried about it. Love it.
Now, no high country trip is complete without a bit of a look at the snow. Has-been hasn't seen any, of course, and so as an end to the trip, we decided we'd better climb as high as we could and check out some of that horrible white stuff.
One of the reasons Milo's been a bit smoky is because she never really warms up. This big radiator sees to that. And whilst I don't mind that out in the desert country, here, when it's about minus 200 degrees, it's not good. It needs to warm up. So what I do, in the absence of a better thermostat, is just drop a couple of cutting boards down the front there. Just shuts off most of the radiator, and believe it or not, I'll still be pushing it to get it over about a quarter on the temperature gauge.
So we decided we'd do a quick trip up the top of Frenchman's Gap track and check out the view. By crikey, so much for quick. Almost straight away the track turned into packed down ice and it was slippery as.
Wow, look at this. What a place to wrap up a high country trip. Right on top of it all. Look, Tim has really delivered this last week. Even though a lot of the tracks are shut down during the winter months, there's still so many places you can go, do some awesome four-wheel driving and check out some of the prettiest country Australia's got to offer. But I've got to tell you, after a week of this, I'm kind of looking forward to the sunshine back in Queensland too. But meanwhile, I'm just going to have a look at this glorious view. It's a view to die for.
Welcome to Roothy's Ruthless Tales. Go on, grab a slice of fair dinkum, Australia. Get your dose of Roothy and put a smile on your dial.